can die happy now. I've put on the jersey and anything else is a bonus. He gave me a hell of a spray, went off and then came back at me again. And basically said, if you're not playing unbelievable footy the second half, you're gone. So coaching staff came in and said, we got the plan to beat this team. This is how we're going to do it.
Hey guys, it's Lachie. Welcome back to the Remember When pod. Today I sat down with Daniel Mortimer. We talked about his career. He's such a legend. We talked about what he's up to now. It was such a good chat. Yeah, let's get into it. Guys, just a quick favor to ask that if you're not subscribed, can you please subscribe now? It's just going to help us build the show, get bigger guests on the show. It can help the show be better for you guys. You guys can get more out of it, be more entertained, and just build the overall level of the show. Now we're done with that. Let's get into the episode. Daniel Mortimer, welcome to the pod, mate. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, mate. Happy to be here.
What you been up to? What are you doing in Sydney today, mate?
Just doing a wine run. So we have a winery in Orange, family business that we've done for 30 years, and you have an employee in Sydney, so I've come up to catch up with him and bring some more goodies for him to deliver.
Yeah, do you come down much or?
Yeah, get here every couple of weeks. So we're starting to pick up some Sydney trade. Orange is becoming a really popular wine scene, so we're need to bring the product to the people of Sydney.
Yeah, fair enough. I like to start sort of every pod with like a question, obviously different for every guest, depending on who it is. My one for you. So obviously you came into the NRL. You were really young. You debuted at 18, right?
19.
19. And the Mortimer name is obviously a massive name in the NRL. How did it affect you trying to go into the NRL and live up to that name?
Yeah, it was quite challenging. There was a lot of, I guess, expectation around the name. I probably didn't realise how famous the surname was until you get in those circles. And yeah, as soon as your last name's dropped, there's definitely interest in you, but there's also an expectation. So, it probably helped me to some regard, but it was also detrimental in some regard too. And obviously taking the path of Parramatta, not the Bulldogs, I think added that bit of hysteria around it. But look, I was very proud of what Dad and my uncles accomplished. Very proud and really wanted to do the name, do the name proud. And yeah, it was obviously, there's a bit more media attention, I guess, but all of that pressure, and it was all external, inside the family or inside the club. It was just my name, and they treated me that way. But yeah, there was definitely some moments where you think, oh, this is pretty crazy. Particularly that first year with Parramatta, it was a whirlwind, and to pull on that jersey, the enemy jersey from the Bulldogs was a lot of people were on board, a lot of people weren't, but it was good fun.
Yeah, you said you didn't really realise how big the name was in those circles till you got there. Was there like a moment where you're like, oh fuck, like everyone sort of already knows who I am?
Yeah, there was a moment probably that really hit me. I think it was the first time I scored a try, I think, and Ray Warren was calling the game and was calling Mortimer. Mortimer scores in a Parramatta jersey, and it just hearing him say my name was pretty cool. But yeah, obviously being the voice of rugby league and hearing that name growing up, commentators calling that name, because I grew up on the videos of Dad and my uncles, hearing commentators call that name over and over again, and all of a sudden it was my name being called. That was a bit of a pinch me moment, particularly with Ray Warren, probably the greatest commentator of all time.
Yeah. Growing up, was it always footy? Were you always in love with footy?
Yeah. It was. I'm one of 5 boys, so I'm number 4 of 5 boys. So rugby league was a rite of passage. You were sort of not forced into it, but it was just such a big part of our lives. We had our own backyard footy teams, and we all grew up loving the game. We all grew up loving the Bulldogs. We all grew up watching all the old tapes, and it was just part of our DNA, and it still is. But yeah, it was big part of our lives. Obviously, we grew up on a farm as well, so working the vineyard and playing rugby league, and every spare minute out of the vineyard was our childhood, which was looking back, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Did you growing up? Was it because obviously your dad and your uncle play in the NRL? Was it like, did that affect you? Like, oh, I can make it to that level, or were you just on your own sort of path?
You always believed you could, but yeah, the desire was there. All 4 of my brothers would have loved to play NRL, and I was the fortunate one that got to. So I feel very proud about that. Yeah, it's not a done thing. If you got a good surname, then you'll play NRL. It's very tough to make it for 1 year, let alone 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great ride, and I feel very fortunate to have done what I've done. But I'd also worked very hard for what I'd done. So I felt like I deserved every minute that I got the pleasure of playing.
Yeah. Was there a moment you realized like, oh, I actually can make the NRL? Like I'm on my way.
There was a few moments. There was one particular moment that changed my life in a way. So I was sort of under 16s. I think it was a trial for one of the rep teams out in the country, and I was a smaller country lad, and didn't really get much traction in terms of my career. And I saw young players around me at 15, 16 that were getting picked up by Sydney clubs, and I wasn't. And I was sort of getting quite frustrated. And it's funny, you're 16, approaching 17, and you're not signed, and you think your life's over. But there was one game in particular, I played a trial match, and just one of those games where everything came together. It was at Dubbo, and I was playing a year up, and just had one of those games where everything I touched turned to gold. And then I finished the game to walk off the field, and a guy called Cole Matthews from the AIS approached me before I got off the field and invited me to be part of the AIS program. And then from then on, so that was 17. From then on, went to AIS, got picked up by Parramatta, made the Australian Schoolboys, and within 18 months I was playing an NRL Grand Final. So it was a bizarre few years, but all the work had been done prior. I was really ready for my opportunity, but it came quick. And it was one of those quite enjoyable moments where you had done all the homework, you're waiting in the wings for your opportunity, and like I said, 2 years later I was playing an NRL Grand Final, so it was an absolute whirlwind.
So you didn't even play like Harold Mats or anything like that?
No, I played SG ball for Parramatta Eels, so
Yeah.
I got picked up 17, turning 18.
Yeah.
I came up, Parramatta used to let me finish school in Orange, and I'd travel up. I'd leave school halfway through every Friday, train Friday night, play Saturday, go back home to Orange on Sunday. So that was a 12-week SG ball comp, and obviously with the purpose of straight after school coming up and playing in the first NYC under 20s competition that year, actually. So yeah, it was just a fast tracked career. Parramatta were great. They nurtured me and allowed me to finish schooling in Orange, so I was comfortable. I think a lot of country boys get whizzed to the city too young, and they can't cope. It gave me that extra year of maturity and just that extra year of making some friends, but still having that connection to home. And by the time I came up to Sydney the following year, I was ready and I was determined. And yeah, it all happened pretty quick from there.
Yeah, what was that like? One day you're thinking, oh fuck, like this dream's done, I'm not going to make the NRL, and then 12 months later you're playing NRL. What was that feeling like for you?
Yeah, it was really rewarding. It was just a massive tick the box moment, my debut. Like I said, it came really quick. A few players, I was in a really fortunate position as well. I think when I signed with the Eels, there was about 4 or 5 halves in front of me, and one by one, Brett Finch left, Trent Hodgkinson left, James Maloney left, Blake Green left. So I was it was a bit of a Stephen Bradbury moment where I was the last half standing, and me and Jeff Robbo debuted a week or two apart in 2009, and then we went on a run to make the grand final. So it was a crazy year, but once again, the work had been done. I was just waiting for the opportunity, and when it came, I wasn't going to let it go.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I've spoken to so many players, especially halves, that talk about they didn't make those like Mats teams. They kind of just got rushed into, and suddenly they're playing NRL. Like you talk about Jimmy Maloney and Trent Hodgkinson, they said the same thing.
Yeah, I think as a half, you rely on the players around you so much as well. So you can be a fantastic half, but if you're in an ordinary team or in the country or in a struggling team, then your options are so limited. And it's not until it's funny because every time I made a representative team or I made a Parramatta team, I played better because the players around me were better. The options were better. The chase was better on my kicks. The pass I got from dummy half was better. So I think particularly as a half, as you increase your level in terms of your teams that you've made, it actually becomes easier because your options to ball play are much more quality options, and you just have to let that natural instinct take over.
Yeah, 100%. Do you remember your NRL debut, or is it just like a blur?
No, I remember it pretty clearly. Yeah, it was a rainy Saturday night at Parramatta Stadium. I think there's about 5,500 people there.
The old Para Stadium, mate.
But the old Para Stadium, yeah. And there was, I think Parramatta was coming 13th or 14th at the time. We were playing against Cronulla, who were dead last. They'd lost 14 games in a row. Hadn't won one that whole season. So, and then we lost to them in my debut. So, yeah, it was one of those sort of bittersweet where I was so pumped to make my debut.
Yeah.
But the whole team and was just inconsolable after losing to the team coming last. So I had to sort of hide my smile in the sheds after the game. But thankfully, the debut of that year was quite different to the way we finished in terms of going on that run in 2009.
Yeah.
Absolute complete opposite to my debut was who would have thought we would have played a grand final that year.
Did you have like any welcome to the NRL moments? Like, did anyone spray or smash you or something?
No, not so much spray me, thankfully, in that game. Probably deserved it. But no, there was a moment where I was just defending on the left, and I saw Hindy inside me and Chris Ninu outside me defending, and there was a moment just in the game where I looked around and just thought, holy moly, I'm here. This is and I had some friends and family in the small crowd. But just one of those really definitive moments that I remember thinking, I've done it. Like, I can die happy now. I've pulled on the jersey, and anything else is a bonus.
Yeah. What was that 09 season? It's so like famous, going from pretty much 14th or 15th to like so close to a premiership. What like switched gears within the team to get you on that run?
Yeah, there was a bit of, I think Brett Finch had left at the start of the year. There was a few player changes. But there was a moment halfway through the year where Daniel Anderson sort of had a meeting with the team, and particularly the leadership team, which I wasn't part of, but I heard about this afterwards, that he'd sort of had this structure that he wanted to play to. It wasn't working with the team we had. So we sort of threw it out halfway through the year, and they revamped a new sort of free-flowing structure that would bring in your Fletty Mateos and your Chris Ninus and those sort of Hayne, who would play a bit more freestyle. And it just suited us to a T. And all of a sudden, we'd put together a win or two, and then, a lot of offloads, a lot of free-flowing play, not a whole lot of rigid structure.
Yeah.
And it just suited us to a T. And the more we played like that, the more everyone just became alert of their surroundings, and everyone was sniffing for offloads, and you guarantee you'd throw a ball blindfolded and someone would be there. So, it caught fire. And then, we were putting away teams easily. Like, above us on the ladder, we were really, we were on fire. And, very exciting style to play. It suited me to a T as well, being a more instinctive and an off-the-cuff player, support player. It just played into our hands, and we caught this confidence, and from then on, it was just an absolute steamroll towards the finals. Yeah,
what was it like? You get to the finals. You played the Dragons back-to-back weeks in round 26.
Correct.
And the first semi, and the first one you lost. What was the difference between those games?
Yeah, we get asked this a lot, and it's such a fun question to answer, because we were missing. Basically, we'd made it into 8th the week before. So no matter what happened in this game, we were going to play Dragons the following week as well. We're also missing Nathan Hindmarsh and Eric Growth that week. They were both injured. So, and our coaching staff had a plan to beat the Dragons, but they weren't going to use it the first week because there was no point. So they sort of saved up their sleeve, and we went out with this really nonchalant, there wasn't much guidance in terms of how we're going to beat this side. So even as in the team, we sort of weren't sure. It was a bit of an odd week.
Yeah.
So we went out. We still tried our best, but we got beat 37-0. They were an outstanding team, and a lot of people had thought the bubble had burst. And then after the game, we came back into the sheds, and Daniel Anderson made us sit there and listen for a minute or two to the crowd singing "Oh, Win the Saints," and then sort of interrupted that and said, all right, next week we're coming back and we'll effing shut that up. Bus leaves Monday, don't be late. And we all sort of looked at each other quite confused. And anyway, we all got on the bus Monday, went and had, I think it was a game of golf, and stayed in a hotel and a couple of beers and Maccas. And then on Tuesday, the coaching staff came in and said, we got the plan to beat this team. This is how we're going to do it. And the plan wasn't crazy different, but it was maybe just that effect of belief. And all of a sudden, immediately, we thought, yeah, okay, let's get on board this. It's do or die now. And the next week, we came out in front of those same crowd, and we kept them quiet. And there is that trial where Hainsey sort of shushes the crowd, and that came from that week before.
Yeah.
Coming back to want to silence that crowd. It was a pretty special game to be part of, and from losing 37-0 to winning, I think 25-12, it's a big swing in a week.
Yeah. What's the feeling like after you're walking off the field after beating them in that second game?
Yeah, that was one of the most enjoyable times of my career. Just knowing. It's one of those times where we just blocked the outside noise out completely, and it's hard to do in a team. But that week we were just so interfocused in that change room, of the people in the change room that can make that difference. And we really believed that we could turn that around, and we did. And we just played the style that we wanted to play. We were just super enthusiastic. The Dragons were the favourite the entire year. They were an incredible team, and I think only the second team in history to have been 8th and beat the minor premier. So yeah, that was a cool little accomplishment, and there was still a way to go, but yeah, it was a great start for our finals run.
Yeah, who'd you guys play? Because I know you played the Bulldogs in the
so we played the Titans the following week, who finished third.
Yeah,
and then we played the Bulldogs, who finished second.
Yeah.
So the first 3 weeks of the finals, we knocked off first, second, and third.
Yeah, that Bulldogs game's pretty famous as well. Obviously, it was a pretty intense game, packed out it was at ANZ, wasn't it?
Yeah, still the biggest crowd outside of grand final today, I think. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it was immense, and the sound was just incredible. And unlike grand finals where you got supporters from everywhere that are just watching the grand final, that prelim, it was Bulldogs or Parramatta. So it was, nearly, I think it was 78,000 Bulldogs or Parramatta fans, very evenly matched actually. It was to this day the wildest atmosphere I've ever played in, that game.
Oh, really? Yeah, the Bulldogs fans are crazy. It's funny you talk about Daniel Anderson. When I was 15 or 14 or 15, he was my math tutor.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Because he was a teacher.
Yeah.
And he used to come to my house and tutor
me
really?
Math. Yeah. How'd he go?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's good. I still didn't do that well.
Yeah.
Math.
Very good man. Very good man.
What was the decision like going from, because you went from Para to the Roosters? What came from that?
Yes, that was around the following year. We struggled with a bit of form. We just missed the 8 narrowly, but Daniel Anderson got the sack, unfortunately, and Steve Kearney came in, and he came, as you do as a coach, with his own preferences and wanted to do a bit of a clean out of the club, which tended to be a massive clean out, which I was part of, unfortunately, but. It was a blessing to skies in the end for me. So Brian Smith gave me an opportunity at the Roosters. They hadn't had a particularly good couple of years. But yeah, they were, it was an opportunity. He sort of sold me on the vision. Unfortunately for him, that vision didn't come as quickly as he would have liked, and he got sacked after my first year there. I played a bit of NRL, played a bit of reserve grade for Newtown Jets as well. I captained that Jets team to a grand final win in 2012. I think Daniel Tupou's first year as well at the Roosters. He came from Parramatta with me. And then the following year, Trent Robinson came in. Brian Smith did some handy recruiting for him as well, with the likes of Sonny Bill, Michael Jennings, James Maloney, as well as a young Roger Tuivasa-Sheck coming through. Yeah. So the stars sort of aligned for us there, and Robbo inherited an amazing team, but also just came in and brought this amazing culture from day dot. And not often you get the feeling, but within a week of being there, I knew it was going to be a successful year. Probably didn't know it was going to be a premiership winning year, but yeah, he just instantly had this influence on this team. Being a young coach who not many people knew much about, he just brought in this really clear vision, and we all bought into it.
Yeah, what was that season like? Obviously, you ended up winning the comp at the end. But for you personally, was it enjoyable? Was it good?
It was amazing to do it a second time after playing 2009, losing the grand final, and then Storm being stripped as well, which wasn't, that definitely burnt a bit harder. So having lived through a season like that, and it was quite a different season because we were pretty early on through the year, we were the benchmark, and so we were the ones to be beaten, whereas with the Eels, we came from nowhere.
Yeah.
So it was a very different experience, but one I enjoyed a lot more because I'd been through it once and I knew the expectations, and soaking up those little moments like every finals game, the grand final week. In 2009, it was just such a blur and such a high energy, and there was so much media attention around that team. With the Roosters, it felt a bit more like this is ours to lose, but we walked with a certain swagger, knowing that all we had to do was turn up and play very well, and we should be okay. We had an amazing team and amazing staff, but it was two really different experiences, but one that I feel very fortunate to have done, and to finally got to get a premiership ring was it's what you dream of as a kid.
Yeah, you came off the bench in that grand final. What's it like sitting on the bench waiting to go on? Are you like shooting bricks? Or?
Yeah, the moment you get on, you're fine. Yeah. But the whole time watching that, I used to hate coming off the bench because, you sit there and you watch the game and you see how the game's unfolding and you're thinking about how you can make a difference the entire time. So there is a fair bit of nerves that creep up on the bench. So you often just have to go for a run and run those nerves out. And it's funny that the moment you're on the field, they all just leave and you feel like you're at home. And it's just time to go and not think anymore, just go and do. It's often the more time you have to think, the worse. So I used to always sort of give the trainers the prompt, like, when's Robbie going to get me on? Because I didn't want to sit there with the belly full of nerves, wondering how you're going to make a role in this game. And sometimes the team be winning, sometimes you're losing. That grand final, I think it was a very close game. I don't know if we were winning or just losing when I came on. But, wondering what you can do in that game to make a difference and leave the game in a better position than you found it in. That was a big conscious sort of effort from our boys who would come off the bench. But, it was... I would prefer to start, put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. What do you think, turned that game? Because there was a point where it just looked like Manly were going to kind of run away with it. What turned that game because then you boys scored... I think Sean Kenny-Dowers scored in that corner and then Michael Jennings scored that.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy try.
Oh, just a few of those moments, those little moments in the grand final. Like, it could have gone either way. Manly get one more try and it could be over. I think Aiden Guerra scored a try off a PC pass, and that got us back into it. And then I think it was just a great run by Sonny, and got an offload to Jimmy, and that was it. Like, that's all it took. It wasn't really developing. It was a very tough game, and Manly were really tough competitors. We played them a couple of weeks prior in probably the hardest game I've ever played.
Yeah, didn't you? It was like 4-0.
We won 4-0 that game, and it was still... And I was so surprised that Manly made it to the grand final, because we were in the sheds after that game going, thank God we don't have to back up after that. And they did, and they went the hard way around to make the grand final. So we were a bit concerned when they got back in the grand final. But, we were a bit fresher in the end as well. So we came home strong. But, that Michael Jennings try was probably the best moment of my life. Sitting on the bench and seeing that grubber that Jimmy put through looked like it was going dead for all money. And we sort of all got up and gasped as a group on the bench. And we sort of sat down pretty quickly thinking like, damn, that was close. Yeah. And then the ref went up to the video. And we saw the first replay and sort of looked at each other thinking, that's closer than we thought. And then they showed the reverse vision of him getting it down. And that was just pure elation. About 8 minutes to go, that put us with an 8-point buffer. It wasn't game over, but it was a big moment. And, how we got that ball down, I still don't know.
Yeah, I remember I heard something that he couldn't walk or something that night because his neck when he hit the ground from that try or something.
Yeah, he was. He threw everything into it, and if he didn't, he wouldn't have scored. So he was a bit stiff and sore, but I'm sure the beers helped.
Yeah, that's true. What was the feeling like when the siren finally goes and you're a premiership winner?
Yeah, just pure elation. All the family and friends were there. Just the moment that you want to experience as a footy player. I think every player who's played the game longs for that moment. There's some other, Origin and Australia and other moments like that, but I think every player deep down wants that feeling. And I was, so lucky to be in the right place at the right time. And that's what it takes. There's some great players who never got to experience that. It's all about being at the right place at the right time. And very, very thankful and fortunate to be there at that time. And still look back so fondly on that week. Very, very enjoyable times.
Yeah, how different does footy feel being like a 19-year-old, fresh, naive, you're in grand finals to like your late 20s, 30s, injuries, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's if I could be 19 forever, I certainly would. Just absolutely like unbreakable young. I felt like I was. Didn't miss a game through injury, fresh, and would just attack every session. And then you sort of look at the older guys and they're getting rehab and massages. You never understood that until you get there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you realise why they're not doing the extra session and getting rehab instead or massage instead. Because it is about it. The game is just so tough on your body that you've got to be smart. You can't go for everything. It's the players who are the smartest but look after their bodies tend to have the longest careers, and some other players burn out pretty quick. It is what it is. But I certainly enjoyed those younger years being untouchable.
Finishing up your career, was it like weird to retire, and were you a bit lost for a bit, or did you know exactly what you're going to do straight away?
No, it was weird. I was ready.
Yeah.
I think the injuries really took its toll on me mentally. Also the stress of living that sort of high profile, high stakes life.
Yeah.
I had a wife and started a young family, so all of a sudden it was about much more than me. I was then providing for a wife and young family. So all those decisions, they're not about yourself anymore. So that's a whole different dynamic in terms of your mental approach to each contract, each session. One that I didn't enjoy too much. So when I retired, I was very ready to jump off the roller coaster. I knew I'd miss it, but at the time I was ready to move on to the next chapter. I'd done a teaching degree while I was playing, so I taught for a year on the Gold Coast and then a year back in Orange. And then my family who have a winery out in Orange, Dad was getting particularly busy on the farm and offered a couple of days a week work there. So I just lent into that a little bit because I knew that sort of itch wasn't scratched by teaching. I felt like there was more purpose out there. So I gave this a try and pretty immediately loved it. The farm life and working with Dad and Mum, working on a label that says Mortimer's Wines. That gave me a lot of purpose that I'd lost through rugby league. And then the following year came on full time at the winery. I'm now general manager running the business, and it's been a revelation for me because it's really replaced that purpose for me. I happily sit back on the couch with a wine now, watching the players these days bash each other.
Yeah, fair enough. How do you deal with because a lot of NRL players talk about when they retire, because NRL is the highs are so high and the lows are so low. How do you deal with coming to that middle ground with a normal life? Yeah,
it's hard. It is really hard. That you don't get that adrenaline rush from walking in the vineyard. Running out to 80,000 people, it's pretty hard to replace that. So I was lucky, with fatherhood came and this job came around the same time. That gave me purpose, and you've just got to be content with what you're doing. You've just got to find that purpose, because for most players, it's all we've wanted to do since we were 5 or 6 years old. And you come to 30 and that's over, if you're lucky at 30. And you've still got 30, 40 years worth of life and working life ahead of you, that you've got to find something that scratches that itch still and challenges you, but gives you purpose. I taught for a year or two, found that wasn't doing it for me. So I just searched for other venues to do it, and fell back into the farm and life, and that pretty immediately I knew pretty quickly that that was my purpose from here on in, and I haven't looked back.
I've got a few like quick fire questions. I like to
Okay.
do them with all my guests. Just have a bit of fun to end the pod. Nothing too serious.
Yep.
First one. Hardest player you ever played against?
Friday.
Diday.
Yeah, just when I was young, he used to give me absolute hell. He used to just obviously made a purpose of running at my left shoulder 40 times a game. So that was a pretty stern memory for me being young.
Yeah. Proudest career moment?
It's got to be playing against Stacey Jones. One game, who was my idol as a kid, and one game in 2009, I got the line up against Stacey. So
Really?
that was special.
Yeah, that's cool. Welcome to the NRL moment. Did you have I know we talked about it a bit before.
Yeah, I'd say Ray Warren calling my name.
Yeah.
That felt like I'm here.
Yeah. Biggest pest teammate?
It'd be Jimmy Maloney. He probably gets that constantly, but yeah, well deserved title.
Yeah. No, I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. He's a good bloke. Funniest thing you heard or saw on a footy field?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Or in training or anything like that?
Geez. You know what? I'd just have to say, Shane Shackleton in his day, just doing his Foo Momo impressions. Just had the whole team, and he was doing that 12 months before he even went and did on the footy show. So
really?
We had he was a very very funny man. So Shane Shack doing his impressions.
Hardest preseason you ever did?
That'd be the first preseason that Steve Kearney came to the Eels. We did an army camp, a 3-day army camp that was no sleep, no food. I don't know why. I know why we did it, but it was tough. It was a lot of appreciation for the special ops guys that go through that.
Yeah, what went into that? Because I know all the Melbourne boys talk about those a lot, the IDQ camps. What was that army camp like?
Yeah, it was similar. So I went to Holsworthy, which is closer to Sydney, with the special ops forces, and it was basically 2 nights, 3 days of just getting flogged, finding out how hard you can go. But there was also some really good army insight. The second night we had to do a stakeout, and they pulled up and they kidnapped us and hog-tied us, and it was got tortured for a couple of hours. So it was a pretty cool experience looking back at it now. It was not a cool experience when I was doing it.
Yeah, did it? Was anyone like rattled when you?
Absolutely, yeah. It was. Everyone was delirious by the end. It was, especially the bigger boys who needed food were on rations. It was an amazing experience. Looking back, to know how far your body can go. But it was definitely the hardest by a mile.
Yeah. Biggest spray you ever got?
Biggest spray would be Daniel Anderson. There was a game I played up at Townsville, and I think I kicked 1 or 2 out in the full, and I wasn't having the best game. And at the halftime, his face used to go like bright red when he used to blow up at you, and he'd work. We were all playing terribly, so he'd come around individually and give you a spray in your face, and he gave me a hell of a spray, went off, and then came back at me again, and basically said, if you're not playing unbelievable footy the second half, you're gone. So thankfully I had a good second half, but I don't want too many more of those sprays.
Yeah, fair enough. One rule you'd change in the NRL today?
One rule I'd change would be, I'd say the high tackle needs a bit of a revisit. I think there's a lot of players who are falling into tackles and those sort of incidents that are part of the game. Obviously, there's got to be intent. For me, it's all about intent. Those accidental sort of falling into someone's arm and you jag a penalty, it's not the way you want the game played. I think a lot of people forget how high-paced the game is.
Yeah.
And unless there's intent to either chop in the legs or tackle high or proper recklessness, I think there's got to be a bit more leeway in terms of the high contact, high speed nature of the sport.
Yeah, I think it's hard because they're like trying to make it obviously as safe as possible, which is good, but it's just part of the game sometimes.
Well, it is like the pace. You see some of the header highs where someone's literally standing there with arms by the side, someone's falling into their arm, and there's slight contact with the head. I think there's got to be a bit of common sense with people who have played the game, and watch it at pace. Unless there's proper malice or intent or recklessness, I think we're far too harsh on those games, and they're going to decide games in the future, which will not be a good outcome.
Yeah. Biggest lesson footy taught you?
Is I guess it's just in life you get out what you put in. It's you learn that right across. I'm still learning that with my business now, but yeah, you gotta throw yourself in it because there are a hell of a lot of other people who want that position. So.
Yeah.
You do have to throw everything into it, but you get a whole lot back.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite player to watch now, like in the NRL now?
Yeah, I'd say at the moment, look, Reece Walsh is pretty hard to take your eyes off. But I love as a half, I love watching DCE because I feel like he's playing a freer style now than he did when he was young. He's very elusive with where he's going. He's a lot of players as you get older and slower, you become more rigid and more of running attack. Whereas he's taking as many chances as he is now than he was at a young age. So I'm really enjoying watching his journey, and I'm really excited to see his role at Roosters this year and what he brings to that team because I think the last few years he's been playing outstanding footy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and he's like 39 now. So.
Oh, he's 36.
Oh, is he only 30?
Yeah, 36. Yeah.
Oh.
Still, I mean, it's I think this change for the Roosters might revitalise him a bit, just like Origin did for him. He's a phenomenal player and still got a lot to offer.
Yeah. Greatest piece of advice you ever got?
I'd say it's an old saying that I love that Dad said to me, and I think Peter Brock said it initially. But bite off more than you can chew and chew like hell. And I just like it. It's a really good analogy. Just throw yourself all into it. Bite off all you can. If you just chew like hell and you won't choke.
Yeah, that's actually really, I never heard that before.
Yeah,
it's actually a good
it stuck with me at a young age, and it is such a cool analogy.
Yeah. Do you have like your three goats of the NRL? They don't have to be statistically like the three greatest players ever, but your personal three goats.
Yeah. So number one for me would be, I think the greatest player to ever pull on a boot is Jonathan Thurston. Just his competitiveness. He was the best 6 in the game until he moved to 7 to with Lachie coming into not coming in, but that's 6 jersey in Origin. Then became the best 7 in the game. And then we shift back to 6 for Cronk at Origin. So yeah, just complete terrier and complete player. Jonathan Thurston's number one for me. Next has to be my personal favourite, Stacey Jones. He was the halfback, little nimble halfback at the really influential time of my life when I was around 12, 13, 14. He was leading that New Zealand side, the little general, and was just a phenomenal player. As I said before, I got to play against him once, which was just the biggest tick-the-box moment for me. And the last one would be my uncle Steve Mortimer. Growing up on the Bulldogs tapes in the 80s, I used to chip and chase all night at our home, trying to emulate my uncle Steve and what he did for the Bulldogs in the 80s. So 3 halfbacks, but they've been the 3 most influential in my life.
Yeah, obviously your dad and your uncle, were they really hands-on with you in terms of footy, or was it like, this is your thing now, you just got to do it?
Look, Dad was always very instrumental growing up. He coached a lot of my teams, and I'm one of 5 boys, so he spread himself around all the boys. But look, my dad and my pop were really influential on my life. Not so much technically, but just that mindset of letting me know what it takes to get there. But no, once I came to Sydney, it was my own journey. And I learnt off a lot of people. But yeah, they were very supportive growing up, but they understood pretty quick that it was my journey.
Yeah. And just one last question before we finish up. There's obviously millions of kids out there trying to make the NRL, trying to play professional sport. Why did Daniel Mortimer make it?
I think I was brave. I used to be small. I still am small. But I was fearless. I'm not so fearless anymore with family and kids. But I was scared of nothing as a kid. I was brave. I would throw my head into any tackle, hence all the cuts probably around my hairline and my head. But that was what people had an opinion of me that I've heard back since was just that I was brave and fearless, and I wasn't scared of anything. And with that came all the other, I guess, strengths of my career. Was just I guess being brave. That's what made me play NRL.
Yeah, I feel like all the little players have got to be like that. Like you talk about Jonathan Thurston before. He was small, but he would throw his head at anything.
Yep.
And all those smaller players.
Yeah, and it's beautiful to see these smaller players still have a place in the game. I think the game now is even better. I'd love to be young coming through now in today's game. I came through in sort of the peak of the wrestle period where it was slow, and I think now the game having sped up, there's a better place for smaller players who play high tempo. I'd love to be young playing through now, but I think there'll always be a place in the game for smaller players, and we're seeing a lot of the best players in the game are small and nimble but super skillful, which is something you have to learn as a smaller guy. You can't beat them with size or pace often. It's got to be skill.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, thanks for jumping on, mate. You're a legend. It's been such a good chat. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure, mate. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.